Before she became Coco Chanel, she was simply Gabrielle. Born in 1883 in a small town in France, her early life was far from glamorous. Her mother passed away when she was just 11 years old. Her father, unable or unwilling to care for his children, left Gabrielle and her sisters at a convent orphanage. It was a strict, quiet place. Life there was hard, but it's where Gabrielle learned to sew, a skill that would quietly shape her future. She didn't grow up dreaming of fame or fashion. She grew up trying to survive. But even in those early years, something about her stood out. She noticed the way people carried themselves, the way clothes could express who you were or who you wanted to be. She wouldn't stay in that convent forever, and when she left, she had no money, no title, and no connections. Just her determination, and an idea of the kind of woman she wanted to become. When Gabrielle left the orphanage, she didn't step into fashion right away. She worked as a seamstress by day and sang in small cafes at night. One of her favorite songs was about a girl named Coco, and soon, that became her nickname. Some say she chose it herself. Others say it was given to her by men in the audience. Either way, Coco stuck. During those years, she met wealthy men who opened new doors for her. One of them was Etienne Balsan, a former cavalry officer who introduced her to high society. Through him, she saw a different world: horses, elegance, social events, but it wasn't her world. Not yet. Then came Arthur Boy Capel. He wasn't just another connection, he was the great love of her life. And unlike the others, he believed in her ideas. With his financial support, Coco opened her first boutique in 1910, a small hat shop in Paris called Chanel Modes. She didn't try to copy the fashion of the time. She wanted something different, simpler, cleaner, freer, and slowly people began to notice. She wasn't just making hats. She was changing the way women thought about what they wore. In early 20th century France, women's fashion was complicated and uncomfortable. Corsets, layers, tight fabrics. Clothes were designed to impress, not to move. Coco Chanel didn't see elegance in discomfort. She believed style could be simple, that beauty didn't have to mean suffering. So she did what few women dared to do. She cut her hair short. She wore men's clothes. She designed outfits that women could actually breathe in. Soft jersey fabrics, relaxed silhouettes, neutral tones instead of bright, heavy colors. To some, it was shocking. To others, it was a relief. Chanel's style didn't just look different, it felt different. She wasn't just creating clothes, she was creating freedom in fabric form. By 1915, her designs had gained real momentum. Fashion houses across Paris started copying her look. Women who once dressed for others now began dressing for themselves. Coco's message was quiet but powerful. A woman doesn't have to be loud to be noticed. She just has to be sure of who she is. By the early 1920s, Coco Chanel was no longer just a rising designer. She was becoming a household name. But she didn't stop at clothing. She had a new idea, something invisible but unforgettable, something that could carry the feeling of Chanel without saying a word. A fragrance. Perfume at the time was either too heavy or too floral. It didn't last. It didn't stand out. Coco wanted something bold, clean, modern, a scent that was both powerful and feminine, like the women she designed for. In 1921, she launched Chanel No. 5. The name? Simple. It was the fifth sample her perfumer presented, and she liked the number. She didn't overthink it. And yet it became the most iconic perfume in the world. What made it different? It blended natural flowers with synthetic ingredients, unheard of at the time. It didn't smell like a garden, it smelled like Chanel. It was elegance in a bottle, and the message was clear. Wear this, and people will remember you. Later, when Marilyn Monroe was asked what she wore to bed, she famously answered, Chanel No. 5. That moment sealed the perfume's place in pop culture forever. With just one bottle, Coco had created something that would outlive her. But as her fame grew, the world around her was changing, and soon a much darker chapter would begin. In the 1930s, Chanel's empire was thriving. Her designs were worn by the elite. Her perfume was a global success. She had become one of the most influential women in fashion. But then, World War II began, and everything changed. As Paris fell under German occupation, many fled the city. But Coco stayed. Not only that, she moved into the Hotel Ritz, the same hotel where many high-ranking Nazi officers were staying. Rumors began to spread. Whispers of a romantic relationship with a German officer. Whispers of espionage. Whispers of collaboration. To this day, no one knows the full truth. Some believe she was simply trying to survive. Others believe she used the war to protect her business and herself. What we do know is that during these years, she stepped away from fashion. Her shops closed, her name faded from the headlines. And when the war ended, her choices came back to haunt her. She was questioned, judged. Some called her a traitor. Others defended her, saying she did what she had to do in impossible circumstances. Coco never spoke much about this period. She rarely explained. She didn't apologize. She simply disappeared from the public eye. For nearly a decade, she stayed silent. But she wasn't finished, because Coco Chanel never saw the end of a story as the end of her power. And when she returned, she came back stronger than anyone expected. By the early 1950s, the fashion world had moved on. New designers were leading the way. Christian Dior's new look, with its cinched waists and full skirts, was all the rage. Feminine, dramatic, glamorous. But for Coco Chanel, it felt like a step backward. To her, fashion had once been about freedom. Now it was returning to restriction. And at 71 years old, she decided she wasn't done. In 1954, after almost 15 years away, Coco Chanel returned to the runway, and critics were brutal. They said she was out of touch, that her time had passed, that no one wanted simple jackets and straight lines anymore. But Coco didn't flinch. She trusted her instincts, and slowly the world came around. Women, girl or real women, began wearing her clothes again because they were timeless, comfortable, empowering. Her now iconic Chanel suit, with its clean-cut tweed, gold buttons, and no-fuss silhouette, became a symbol of modern womanhood. She paired it with another invention, the Chanel 2.55 bag, a quilted shoulder bag with a chain strap so the women could keep their hands free. It was practical, it was beautiful, and it was everything Chanel stood for. She didn't follow trends, she created them. And her comeback wasn't just a return to fashion. It was a reminder of what made her different. Age didn't define her. Critics didn't define her. Even history didn't define her. Only she did. Coco Chanel never married. She never had children. Her work was her life, and her name was her legacy. She continued designing into her late 80s, working daily from her suite at the Ritz. Even as the age slowed her body, her mind remained sharp. She sketched, she advised, she refined. On January 10th, 1971, Coco Chanel passed away in her room at the Hotel Ritz. She died alone, but not forgotten. The next day, the front page of nearly every newspaper in France read one word, Chanel. But the brand didn't die with her. Not even close. In the 1980s, designer Karl Lagerfeld took the reins. He modernized her vision, keeping her signature elements, the tweed, the pearls, the monochrome, while giving it a fresh, contemporary edge. Under his leadership, Chanel became more than a fashion house. It became a cultural symbol. Today, Chanel is one of the most recognized luxury brands in the world. Its interlocking Cs are seen on runways, red carpets, and street corners across the globe, from perfumes to bags to haute couture. The name Chanel still carries a kind of quiet power, but beyond the products, beyond the fame, it's the story behind the name that people still remember. A girl abandoned in a convent, a voice that rose in a cabaret, a woman who dared to change what femininity looked like, and never asked for permission. Her life was full of contradiction, poor yet powerful, quiet yet disruptive, elegant but endlessly rebellious. And in the end, she became exactly what she wanted to be. Unforgettable, Coco Chanel passed away on January 10th, 1971, in her private suite at the Ritz Hotel in Paris. She was 87 years old and had remained active in her work until the very end. At the time, she was still designing collections for the fashion house she had built from the ground up. Her passing left a noticeable gap, not just in the world of fashion, but in the identity of the Chanel brand itself. For many, Chanel and Coco were inseparable. She wasn't just the founder, she was the spirit of the brand. In the years following her death, the House of Chanel struggled to find direction. The collections produced during the 1970s were respectable, but lacked the creative leadership and innovative spark that Coco had provided for decades. Though the perfume line, especially Chanel No. 5, continued to perform well, the fashion division appeared to be losing relevance in a rapidly changing industry. That changed in 1983 when Chanel appointed German designer Karl Lagerfeld as artistic director. Lagerfeld faced a difficult challenge: how to modernize the brand without abandoning its roots. Rather than replicate Coco's work, Lagerfeld chose to reinterpret it. He preserved the brand's most iconic elements: tweed jackets, pearls, black and white tones, but gave them a new energy, combining tradition with modernity. His designs were sharper, bolder, and aligned with contemporary fashion trends. Lagerfeld's vision helped transform Chanel into one of the most dynamic and profitable luxury brands in the world. Under his direction, runway shows became major events, and the brand once again began setting trends rather than following them. He led Chanel for over 3 decades, until his death in 2019. Today, Chanel continues under the creative direction of Virginie Viard, who worked closely with Lagerfeld for many years. While the fashion world continues to evolve, the brand still carries the unmistakable influence of its founder. From the structured suits to the subtle scent of Chanel No. 5, Coco Chanel's legacy lives on, not just in fashion, but in the culture of confidence, simplicity, and style that she helped shape. Today, Chanel stands as one of the most influential and successful luxury brands in the world. With hundreds of boutiques across major cities and a strong presence in fashion, beauty, watches, and accessories, the brand continues to expand globally. Its identity remains firmly rooted in Coco Chanel's original values: elegance, freedom, and timeless style, while adapting to the expectations of a modern audience. Under Virginie Viard's leadership, Chanel remains a symbol of quiet power in a loud world.